Welcome to the Reading Rift. I'm Lydia and I have a book addiction and I'm married to a writer.
I'm Beck, I'm a writer and we're sister-in-laws.
And today we have a guest author, Alexandra. Cue round of applause. She is the author of Blood Beneath the Snow, book 1 in a duology, where book 2 is coming out February of 2026. So we are about to get into her brain of how did you write this book, writing process, and then we're going to talk about the heartbreak that you caused us in this book. Alex, we're on first name basis here. I'll call you Alex.
Yes. Warning for this episode though, this is an adult podcast with adult content and adult language. And then the spoilers for this episode, the first half is spoiler free, but the second half we will say it will contain spoilers and we will announce it again.
Yeah, we'll give a big announcement when we're gonna start getting into the spoilers, but feel free to watch until then because we're gonna dive into Alexandra's history with writing and get the background of what makes someone want to do this to a reader, okay? So I just want to talk about your bio. This is what I got when I stalked you online, okay? So, fact, you have written fantasy stories since you were young.
Yes.
And you've always loved reading, and now your life is filled with writing, your family, and your love of Star Wars.
Yes.
Which you came repping.
I did,
we felt left out because we should have thought about that, but we didn't.
And we both have Star Wars shirts, and it's like when I saw hers,
when you
I was
come
like,
back for
next
episode
time.
book, for the next book,
yes,
we're doing Star Wars shirts, okay? And I kind of, when I was reading this book, I was like, am I getting Ben Solo vibes a little bit? And then you post on your social media, and I was like, I wasn't reading into that. Booyah!
Yes.
So we're gonna play a fun little Star Wars game mixed with your world later.
Okay.
But first I wanna learn about your history with reading and writing. So we know you've always loved it, but what books did you grow up reading that like shaped you into a reader? For us, it's probably like Magic Tree House, those types of books. So what was it for you that was like, that's my series?
Oh, I loved Magic Tree House. I really loved Aragon, actually.
Okay,
that series was so good. I have thoughts about the last book, but I loved it. And it really got me into, like, those were big, chunky books that made me excited to read because they felt kind of above my reading level. And so it was fun to like dig through all of them and feel like I was smarter for being able to like read and understand it. Those were big ones for me. That's really the one that comes to mind most. But yeah.
Okay, and what are your earliest memories with writing? So did you write as a kid, or was it like a teenagehood thing, or when did you first start writing? And what are your earliest memories of like, I love this?
I remember being really young, and I was that kid who was like always reading, to the point that my mom didn't ground me by telling me I couldn't play with my friends. She grounded me by taking my books away. Yeah, painful. But I remember her asking me once when I was really young, probably like 8 or 9, like, would you ever want to write a book? And I told her, no way, I'm sticking to reading. I have no interest in doing the writing. But then that kind of like stuck and started spinning in my brain a little bit. And so when I got a little bit older, probably like early teens, I decided that I did want to try it. It was mostly because at that point I was reading books that were making me have so many feelings, and I loved that. And I thought it was just really cool that words on a page could do that to someone. And so I wanted to see if I could do it too. And then I had some teachers who really encouraged me, and that was really cool. And yeah, that's kind of what led me into it. I didn't really start writing anything actually good until college. I'm like, my high school books were like really poorly written Hunger Games fan fiction, Twilight fan fiction, that I was like, no, this is original. But I look back and I'm like, that was not original. That's just Twilight in a different font. So yeah.
I love that. Hunger Games also ruled my teenagehood years. I had like a Hunger Games birthday party and everything. And to this day, I love that series so much.
Me too.
Okay. Beck's gonna get into some writing history questions.
Yeah, I think my question is a follow-up kind of to that. When you were writing, when did you realize in that writing process that you wanted to be a published author?
Ooh, I think it was actually, so when I was in the 8th grade, I didn't really like know what I wanted to do as a career, but that was kind of the age where I was getting projects at school that were like, plan out your life, like talk about what you want to do. And really the only thing that I felt confident enough that I could do at that point was writing, because my teacher kept telling me that I was good at writing. And so that was enough to really push me in that direction. And I remember thinking like, oh, maybe I could be an author. That could be something interesting. And so I started kind of looking into it and doing a little bit more research on what that would entail. And sometime in there, I just kind of caught the writing bug of like, no, this is what I want to do for sure. And so it's fun to think back and think about how influential that one teacher was on me. And
I love that. Yeah.
like all she had to do was tell me that I was good at something, and it's literally changed the course of my life. So I think that's really cool.
I think that's really, I have the similar situations.
Okay,
just, like,
yeah.
Teachers that all they did was be like supportive and like make me feel like I could do anything. And those teachers have shouted out the other teachers that didn't do that. But
Yes.
I actually love that because I also had a teacher that was like, your writing's really good, you should do that. I was like, okay. Listen.
who was the first person you told, like, I am going to be a published author? And I want to know, how did they take that? Were they supportive, or was it like that's a really cute goal? Or so how was that? What's that memory for you?
I think it was probably my mom. And actually, I don't remember the experience of like first telling her I want to be an author, but I do remember being in high school and her coming to me and saying like, hey, I know you want to be an author. I found this cool resource like that I thought you might be interested in, or I read this interview with an author, then so I printed it out and passed it on to you. And it was very sweet and very supportive. Like, I don't know. I mean, when you tell your parents you're going to get an English degree, like I'm sure none of them feel really great about that, but my parents were very supportive, and they always encouraged me to chase my dreams and to just do it in a way that was smart enough to have backup plans if things didn't work out. And that really, I think, was what I needed, was just that unabashed confidence that I could do it if I really wanted to, but also a little bit of the realism of like, hey, have a backup plan, that can't hurt either. So yeah.
Are your parents like still around? So what was their reaction like when you were like, I actually did this? Like, were they just like biggest cheerleaders, or?
They've been so supportive. My mom was the first person I called when I got the offer on my book, and I had like sprinted down the stairs and just like said to my husband, like, I got a book deal, I'm calling my mom, and called my mom on the phone, and they have been so excited for me, and just like they are the ones who have seen it all. They've been there the whole time since I was that kid who was reading and who was writing stories in notebooks instead of paying attention in class. And so for them to see it all finally, like years later, come to fruition has just been really neat. They don't live locally, but they like flew out for my book launch, and they've just been so excited. My mom goes, my book is in a few Walmarts, and my mom goes to Walmart, and every time she was telling me that she'd just like go buy the books, and she'd pick up a copy of my book and stick it in her cart and then go do her grocery shopping, and then she'd put it back before she left, just to like hang on to
they'd be like,
yeah, exactly.
That's super.
Yeah.
That's cheerleader
Marketing.
Oh, mom, your mom is
that
the
your marketing
best.
She's the
Yes.
best. She's the best.
So in writing this book, is this the first book that you like sat down to write knowing you were going to publish it? And then follow up with that is that when you sat down to write this book, did you know about yourself that you were an outlier or a pantser, or did you find that out while writing it?
Oh, that's a good question. So when I sat down to write Blood Beneath the Snow, I was in college, and I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I had never written a book all the way from start to finish yet. So that was really my goal, was I wanted to have a project that I finished. Even if it was bad, even if I like finished it and then went, great, that's done, and threw it away, I wanted to at least have the confidence that I could get from beginning to ending and like know that I could do that. And so that was really kind of what I set out to do. And I did plot it because I figured up until that point, I hadn't been plotting my novels. And I thought maybe that's where I'm going wrong. And so I plotted it. I don't know that I plotted it very well, but ever since then, I have been a pretty strict plotter. I like to write really long outlines that are just like super excessive, and then I obviously don't even follow them most of the way, but at least like it was there and I was doing the thinking. And so yeah, really I do a lot of outlining, but the thing that's helped me the most with actually like getting a full book done was learning about story structure and figuring out, okay, this is what a story needs to look like. This is the kind of journey that I want my character to go on, and figuring out how to like plot out, okay, if they're going to get from point A to point B, here's all the points they have to hit in the middle to actually do that. So yeah, that's been really helpful.
Yeah.
I think like sometimes we think about writing a book, you just sit down and you just type it out. But there is some great skill in how like knowing the education behind writing and like figuring out what they taught us in school maybe helps a little bit sometimes. But yeah, so that's super cool. She's kind of like in between.
I learned about myself because like growing up I was kind of in that same like, oh, just write. But when I sat down to write a book, I had to plot it. I was like, I had to learn, like, I can't just sit down and be like, for myself, like, I knew the end goal. Like, I don't know for you, but like, I knew like where I wanted to end up. But to get from point A to point B, it was like, I had to plot it. I couldn't just like force the characters there.
If only.
Yeah. That's how my husband writes. He sits down and says, I'm writing today. And then he just like goes through. And I'm like, no outline. He says it's all in his head. And I believe that he's plotted it in his head, but he's never like written it down.
Interesting.
So it actually blows my mind. I'm like, I would be scared to live in your head, actually.
Yeah, could not be me.
What was your revision process like? So after you finished your first manuscript, what was your process after that?
This book has been through so many revisions. It's unrecognizable now in its final form than what it was. Yeah, I worked on it for probably, so I wrote the first draft in a little under a month. I did it for NaNoWriMo. And then after that, I rewrote it from scratch 5 different times before I finally was like, okay, this is enough that I can like cobble it into something better. I have enough pieces here that I want to keep working with. And so it took me in total, like, I think it was 2 years before I started querying it. And at that point, I felt pretty confident about the state that I had it in. I signed with my literary agent and we did edits for about 6 more months before we sent it on submission. So at that point, it had been through probably 6 or 7 rounds of revisions, maybe even like 8 or 9. I don't know, I lost count somewhere along the way. But then while it was on submission, so a fun fact is this book actually used to be young adult. When I first wrote it, it was a YA novel. And then on submission, I was getting very impatient and very nervous that it seemed like we were not going to sell it. And so I asked my agent if she thought it would work as an adult book. And she said, I mean, I think it would. And so then I came back to her and I was like, excellent, here's the adult version.
I love that.
Yes, so I was very much like, I want to keep all the irons in the fire, and I didn't have to make any crazy revisions because a lot of the themes were, I guess, mature enough that like adults could enjoy it too. And this was about the time that, you know, Fourth Wing was getting pretty popular. All of Sarah J. Maas's books were blowing up. And so I knew that there was a market for stories written for adults with adult content, but that still had coming of age experiences that the characters were going through, which I think really prompted me to do that. So after I rewrote it as adult, we went out with like the last few YA editors we had, and then we were sending it to adult editors, and that's when it finally sold to my editor, was when it was an adult book. So
good job for having that idea, because I just like think of the process and I'm like, it can be so disheartening.
Yes.
Because it's such a long process. It is not for the weak. It's not for the faint of heart. And just to then like, to think that you know and you think this is it, but then later down the road have the idea that if you didn't listen to that idea, it would have maybe gone differently. Like you would have either had to wait longer or maybe not even gotten that opportunity. So like, crazy. Good job at listening to your gut there.
Thank you.
I want to know what the process was like to find an agent. What was your querying process like?
Oh man, it was pretty standard. I think you always, at least I was hearing a lot of the miracle stories of like, oh, 1 week and I landed an agent and I had 12 offers, and my story was not like that. It was very slow. It felt like a slog. I queried for about 9 months, I want to say, and really, like, this book did not get very many requests, which is just so interesting to me because publishing isn't a numbers game in the end. Like, you can't even gamify it in a way that like makes you win, because really everyone can still tell you no, or you can get a single yes and get where you want to go, which is just interesting. So I queried very traditionally. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I queried for about 9 months. Really, what kind of set it all into motion was I had one full request out, and I told myself, I was like, okay, I'm out of agents. Like, there's no one left to query. And that agent hadn't gotten back to me yet. I kind of assumed, like, she's probably not interested. But I told myself, okay, I'll send a query out to like one small press that I've heard reputable things about. I have friends who are published with them. I'd rather have it published than just sit on my shelf collecting dust. So I sent the query out to them, and they actually ended up offering on it. And so when they offered on it, I went back to the one agent who still had my full manuscript, and I said, hey, I had an offer, you know, I'd just love to chat with you more if you're interested. And she got back to me and said, oh yeah, I actually really loved your book, and I'd love to offer you representation.
Negotiation skills.
Yeah, crazy. So that was kind of wild to think that it was literally like on its last legs. Yeah, and so I ended up signing with her, and she told me that, you know, I was welcome to go with the small press offer, but she thought that it would sell if we went out to big 5 publishers. And so she told me to think about it, and I did, and I came back and I decided to turn down the small press offer and go out on submission to big 5 publishers. And for a while, I thought I had made a horrible decision because
more waiting.
Yeah, I was on submission for 1 year and like 9 days, I think, is how long it was out with editors before anybody showed interest in it. And so that was very much like, oh, maybe that was not the right call, but in the end it definitely was. So crazy how it all works out. Yeah.
That is crazy, because when you were like, you got the offer from the small press, and then you knew you had this other agent that, because I think like I've learned from videos that it's like you should send them in case they want to know to back out or to move more. But like, were you stressed? Like, were you like gonna chicken out at any point, or were you like confident of like, I'm gonna send this email?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it was very hard because when you're at that stage, it feels like a big power imbalance between like these agents who, if you're unpublished, it can feel like they're holding your career in their hands. And so it was like a little scary to follow up with people and to just ask. But at that point I figured, you know, the worst anybody can tell me is no. Like if I have to move forward by myself with the small press, then I move forward by myself with the small press, and I can try again with another book to query. Or one thing that really helped too was by the time I ran out of agents to query for that book, I had another book ready and revised, because I was like, the moment I lose momentum, I'm out. Like, I know that the rejection is going to get to me. So I told myself that I was just never going to stop until I got to where I was hoping to go. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a little bit scary, a little bit intimidating, but in the end, more than worth it. So
that's beautiful advice that you gave yourself. Is you just said, I'm just gonna make it happen. I'm gonna keep going until it happens.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people, if they give up, like you only fail if you don't get back up again, you know, but like you just keep going and you don't know what could happen.
Yeah.
And just, that's beautiful.
I mean, yeah, the worst case scenario is that you don't do it and it never happens. And then it's like, well, what was all that for?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's a waiting period, and then if you stop, then all that waiting was for nothing. And that's sad. That is, and like, look, you have a book, and it's like, that's crazy.
How did you keep your motivation up during all that waiting process?
It's hard. It's super, super hard. Really, what helped was reading a lot and finding another story idea that I felt really excited about to keep my mind off of it. That was super helpful. And then I think it's important to both build a community of writers who know what you're going through, and then have friends who know nothing about the author process at all. Because I could go to my writing friends and complain when I needed someone who like really understood the industry, but when I needed someone to be like, oh my God, that's terrible, I would go to my friends who knew nothing about it and be like, listen to the horrors of publishing. And that was really helpful also, because I don't know, sometimes when you're publishing a book and you're surrounded by no one but writers, like that's really helpful in some ways, but then also sometimes it turns into just like a vacuum of like, this is my whole life. And so I needed to sometimes feel like I had things that I was doing outside of that, because it was taking so much of my time and my mental energy. And so it was nice to like occasionally talk with people and socialize with people who just weren't connected to that part of my life. So they would like listen and be happy for me, but like they were just kind of doing their own thing. And
they can also be like, oh my gosh, it's so horrible for you. I have no idea what you're going through. So this sounds horrible. And other writers are like, oh yeah, no, that's the process. No, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to feel bad for me.
Exactly.
So that's understandable.
What was the most challenging moment for you in that process?
Ooh. Man, what a question. I don't know. I think a lot of it is challenging. I think probably just the decision making of like looking at what you have in front of you and deciding whether or not that's the direction you want to go. Because like within the path of traditional publishing, there are multiple publishing houses, there's tons of editors, you have lots of agents out there, and there's often, for me, it was a worry about, oh, what if I make the wrong choice? Like at every turn, when I was turning down the small press offer, when I was deciding on what things I wanted when I did get an offer, and whether or not to move forward, and like gut feeling, I feel like it can only get you so far sometimes. And so just like having to make that decision and say, I'm okay with what happens, even if it's not exactly what I want. Like my career is going to look the way I am doing it. There's so little control when you're pursuing traditional publishing, that really just like taking those decisions and telling myself like, I'm not going to regret this. Like maybe it turns out differently than I planned, but my choice right now is to not regret the decisions I make, because I'm staying true to myself, I'm staying true to my values, and I'm staying true to what I want for my career. So yeah.
What was the most rewarding moment?
Ooh, I think definitely just like the whole experience of getting a text from my agent that was like, an editor wants to call you. And being like, how is right now? You're like, is she busy at this exact moment? And then like getting on the call with her, and we just clicked so instantly. And because I know there are people who don't have good experiences with their editors. I feel really lucky that I love my editor. And yeah, like it's been so rewarding to find people who are professionals who see the same vision for my work that I do. Because so much of being an aspiring author is just like hoping that one day someone will look at your work and see the same things in it that you do, and that they'll see the potential and the greatness, and that they'll be willing to like guide you through making it better, and that they'll just like champion you like that. And so being able to find those people, because I really feel like my agent and my editor are those people, that has been super rewarding.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm at. Is like I want that, because I've mentioned on a few times now on the podcast is that I've finished a manuscript, and I actually just finished a novella today.
Ooh,
so I'm like,
congrats.
I want an agent and an editor and all these things, and I'm not even close to that, because I still have to revise, and like I'm not ready to like make that phone call, but I'm getting there. And it's like, yeah, I want the champions. I want like look at my book, look at it, and be like, but like I said, I'm not close to that, but I understand like. I want someone to look at that. So like when you say that, it's like the fact that you've gotten it is like amazing.
And it's real.
Yeah, it's real. It can happen.
Oh, I know. It feels so far out of reach for a really long time that sometimes I look at it now and I'm like, wait, was that a dream?
Was that a fever
Did
dream?
that actually happen?
So did you have anything else there? Because I think my question to sum up this, like the writing process, is why do you write really? Like the innate reason.
I write for so many reasons. I think really the end goal for me is I want to make people feel something.
You definitely did on page 333.
I know. I'm like, but yeah, like that's really the goal. Is the human experience is so wide and so varied. And there's a quote that I can't remember most of it, but that I love, that talks about how books can be mirrors and show you and reflect your own experience back to you, but they can also be windows that open you up into experiences that you haven't had before. And I just think that's a really cool way of looking at literature, and especially fiction, because there are plenty of people who believe that fiction doesn't really serve a purpose other than entertainment, but I think it really does. And it's an opportunity to entertain people and make them feel things while saying what you have to say and sharing that with the world and putting that on the page. So.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't read for a long time because kind of school broke me down with like
Yes.
wanting to read. So I didn't read for a long time. And then in April of this year, my husband brought Fourth Wing home and he was like, we're reading this book together. And I was like, I don't want to read a book about dragons.
Yeah.
What? I haven't read a book in like 10 years and I'm going to read a dragon book? I read Fourth Wing and I was like, and then I quickly went down the rabbit hole. Okay, I read all the Fourth Wing books and I read all the Sarah J. Maas books and I've done the rabbit hole. Okay,
yeah.
And I will say that I was going through a kind of a rough time.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I was reading these fiction books that I actually had like energy for life. And I was like, I wasn't getting this from any self-help book or motivational podcast or anything. I got it from reading about a fictional dragons. I got it from reading about like the growth of fictional characters. And I was like, now I'm the biggest champion for the author has to create it for their own healing and exploration and creativity, but the readers also have to read that for their own healing and creativity as well. So I love that you were putting your heart on the line and did that because it's necessary. Books are so important for how the world's gonna evolve and move forward. And
I love that you said that because I met somebody one time that they said they only read nonfiction because that's the educational. I'm like, did you just miss the point of fiction?
Yeah.
Because fiction is the only gateway sometimes to understanding something so complex. I mean, look at Star Wars. To me, it's there's so many lessons in Star Wars that you cannot grasp sometimes because there was a stage in my life that Obi-Wan Kenobi, as silly as it is, he really was like a mentor almost because it was like some things that he said, it was like, so what he was to Luke Skywalker, a lot of people never really get that in their lives. And in Star Wars, it was just an easy way to like have that kind of guidance in our real life. So like, that was beautiful that you said that because it's like, that is that's what fiction is to me. And as a writer, I write, like you said, to kind of heal my own path through fiction. I mean, I write nonfiction sometimes, but it's not my savvy. It's not the main thing.
Okay, well, this is the spoiler warning.
Okay.
This is the new spoiler warning.
Get out of here if you haven't read the book. And
or you can
why
keep
haven't
going
you?
if you like spoilers. But, okay.
If you're here for spoilers, good book, you definitely read it.
Okay, so here's my game for you.
Okay.
The Force Awakens.
I'm excited for this because I don't know anything about the game.
I'm excited too.
Okay. The Force Awakens in your world, a mashup of the galaxy far, far away and the world of blood beneath the snow. Okay, so question 1.
Okay.
If your main character woke up in the Star Wars universe, which side would they join? The Jedi Order, the Sith?
Oh, what a question.
Or would they be something else, like a Mandalorian or something? I'm curious.
I don't know. Revna's she's like a little anti-authoritarian, which makes me wonder if maybe she would go for Sith actually. But she also is like very much a champion for equality. So that kind of makes me think Jedi.
Grey Jedi?
I feel like she might be in the middle, like Rey at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, or
where we learned that maybe there's a middle ground.
Just fights for what she thinks is right, I think.
Beautiful. What would Revna's lightsaber look like? Color, hilt design, any unique features? We get a whole scene in this book of like the forge scene designing a sword, and I was like, this is like build your own lightsaber at Disney World.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. I think it would definitely be, I think if she could be like a gray Jedi but with a red lightsaber, that she'd probably really vibe with that.
I mean, this is like, okay, if I had to write a fan fiction, purple.
Ooh.
I'm over here like I would give her purple.
I see red because she's the blood singer. Spoiler, if you didn't leave, that was it. But like, she's not.
I feel like red would be the vibe. Like that one scene, this is like really niche, but like Clone Wars, that one scene when Obi-Wan had a red lightsaber because someone gave it to him. Yeah, it would be like that kind of situation that ended up in her hand. She had to.
Yeah. Agreed.
Or the first like red lightsaber that was like
fiction.
used by an honorable wielder. You know? Okay, who in your book would absolutely insist on owning a droid, and what kind would it be?
Oh, I think Frode would for sure want a droid to like hang out with him, partially because he couldn't hear the droid's thoughts. And so he would like make the droid be his little bestie. And I would want it, I think that he would pick like a BD1 style droid. If you play the Jedi Survivor games at all, I love BD1. He's my precious baby. But then he would leave him,
and then the droid would be forever alone.
Then the droid would go be Revna's, like,
yes.
they'd be like, I'm sleeping in your room now.
Oh, and baby, you said, oh, and then it's gonna be, that's so sweet, actually.
Yeah, I actually love that for Frode, Okay, if your characters had to smuggle something through hyperspace, who would you trust as your Han Solo?
Ooh. I think the Hellbringer, probably.
Ooh, yeah.
He's the one who's most capable of, like, doing what people tell him to do without shenanigans happening in the middle.
Yeah, I would trust him to drive a spaceship.
I feel like no one would accidentally die either.
Yes.
Like, everything would be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if someone died, it was going to be Okay. If Revna met Darth Vader, what would happen? A duel, a team up, or a moral standoff?
Ooh, I think she would probably challenge him to a duel. She would not be down for, like, Empire kind of authority figures. Just not a fan.
I want to throw a thing question that you didn't add, though. What if she met Anakin Skywalker? Before he did any shenanigans.
I think she would be besties with Anakin Skywalker.
Awesome.
Like,
that actually goes into my next question.
Yeah.
Does it?
What Star Wars character would Revna instantly fall into best friendship with?
Ooh. I think she and Anakin would probably be really close. I think she would also really like Leia, just with that little bit of sass.
Badass vibes, you know?
Not taking any shit from these men. Like,
and honestly, Leia, Anakin, like, that makes sense.
Exactly.
And which Star Wars character would they immediately kill?
Immediately kill? She'd think that Yoda was so annoying. So we're gonna say Yoda,
that, but not Baby Yoda.
Yeah, that's true. Baby Yoda can live, but
Yoda can live. Yeah. Okay. Who in your book would give the best Jedi wisdom quote, and what would it sound like?
It would be Volkan for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
He's always spitting up wise
I feel like he
words.
would be a good Jedi.
Oh, he would be a good Jedi.
Him and Obi-Wan, like young Obi-Wan, right there. Yeah.
Yes.
I could see it. Oh my gosh.
And he's like,
Am I right about to write Blood Beneath the Snow fanfiction?
I know, I'm like, that's like the cross fandom ship that I will happily support. Is
I'm
young Obi-Wan and Volkan.
Volkan deserves someone like young Obi-Wan. Okay,
like, we're about to get like really niche. Like, have you read Padawan book with Obi-Wan?
No, not yet, but I'm like part of the way through the Brotherhood book. I don't know if you've read that one.
I haven't.
That one's like their Clone Wars time. But I haven't finished it yet.
It's just like Padawan is when Obi-Wan's just a little younger.
Okay.
And when he goes to a planet for like the Child's War or something, it's really dark actually. The book's not super dark, but like the contents, it's really dark. But it's just like Obi-Wan was like a little rebel. He was like an angry little guy.
I love that.
Volkan needs some spice in his life.
He does, yeah.
Okay, so she's gonna talk about world building.
I am. I love world building.
Okay.
Every time I get into a book, I'm a vibe reader, but I'm also like, this world is epic. So I have a lot of questions, but also like very vague questions. Because what was I'm gonna word this differently. When I go to write something, sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm here for the vibes. I'm just gonna throw these vibes in, this name, it fits the vibe. But then the other times, like, there's meaning to it.
Yeah.
So like, what names did you go off? Like, there's meaning to this, or did you just like throw vibes into the names? Like, did you have meaning to the characters, or were they just...
Revna's name was the first one I picked, and I kind of wanted to stick to like a little bit of a centralized theme. Like I wanted it to be clear that all the names had the same vibe. So that's why I stuck with like Scandinavian kind of names. But it's interesting. I very much wrote this book like and added a layer every time. And so the world building came later in the process than I think I expected it to. I think when I was first writing it, the characters and the plot were very top of mind for me. And then I went back and reread it and I was like, where are these people? Like, what does it even look like here? I don't even know. And so several drafts in, I went in and I was like, okay, I need to actually like figure out where they are. and what the place around them looks like. And I figured, okay, well, Scandinavian names, maybe I'll go for like a snowy kind of place. And so that was kind of the layer that I added in. Yeah, at a later
reading
time.
tip for your readers: if you want to feel immersed in this book, put your house on like 63 degrees.
Oh my goodness.
And sit and read this book in the middle of the night. And that I felt like I was reading this book. That's how I read this book.
Incredible.
I was like, I'm so cold reading this book. And I was like, I'm like Revna, like in the prison. I'm like freezing. So pro tip, if you want to be like in the world there, turn that AC down. Or go read outside.
Yeah, because I walked into her house and I was like, it's freezing.
It's for the vibes.
It's called immersive reading.
Apparently.
I didn't do it on purpose, but then I did it and I was like, I'm feeling so emotionally connected to this book.
I love
President
that.
walk in and he'll like old Norse
Anyways,
music
I'll let you
playing.
get back to your questions. So I just wanted to give that tip for anyone out there.
Yeah, immersive reading, guys. I think the follow-up question is kind of that, is that setting, is there a reason you kind of picked that Scandinavian vibe? Did you have like because like I've kind of written the Scandinavian vibes before, but like, I guess like my question is, are you interested in like Scandinavian culture, or is like, you just kind of pick those names and then you like kind of based off of that?
So I kind of went into it and I was like really looking into Scandinavian culture, but I knew that I wanted to have a unique pantheon of gods. And so I wanted to be careful not to like lean too much into it, because the Norse pantheon, like they have their own stuff, and I wanted to make sure it was separate enough. But I don't know, I felt like there were tons of books about like places with mountains and jungles even, or like deserts, but there weren't a ton of books that I was reading or enjoying or that were getting popular that were about snowy wastelands. And so that kind of appealed to me in its uniqueness a little bit, that, there were Viking books and there were books that took place in cold places, but it wasn't ever like those things combined. And so I wanted to pull a little bit of each of them and kind of blend them into my own thing. And so that's what I was kind of going for.
I'm glad you said Viking vibes, because she wouldn't let me ask that question. I was like, it's Viking vibes. Because it's not just like the names, it's like I'm going to fight my brothers to the death, and like war, we love the honor. Like that's very Viking. So
she wanted to ask about the Viking vibes. I wanted to, because like those are these two questions we both had. So hers was Vikings and mine was like about Bjorn. Because I was like, when I read the Bjorn name and I was like reading the brothers, my mind went straight to Ragnar's sons.
Okay.
So like I read Bjorn's name and I was like, you're fighting your brothers and your name's Bjorn. I was like, was there a reason you named him Bjorn? Because like my mind went right to Ragnar's son, but I didn't know if there was like an intention there.
It wasn't purposeful. I think I was just looking up names. His name might mean something. I named all of these people so long ago that if there was like meaning behind it.
Yeah, see, that's why I was like, we can't ask those questions, because like that is way too like, what if she doesn't even know?
I want to know about the Viking vibes. Like, if I love Viking vibes. So I was like, I wonder if she like had a history of like you like watching Viking shows, or if there was a reason you wanted to put that together. But you kind of said like there wasn't that combination.
Yeah.
And I would agree. I liked the combination you came up with.
I personally loved the idea that when you said that combination, you put it in a book. Because like I see like sometimes TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But I haven't really read a book. And like then you had that combination. You have your own uniqueness to it.
Yeah.
And you have your own gods. And like, yeah, I haven't read a book like that. I don't think, where it's like that. Yeah, you have your own level of uniqueness to it, and your own like your own wastelands and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I haven't read that in a book.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that. I was like, yeah, no, this is a very unique book.
Okay, that's good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then question, but like, would you, in your own words, kind of explain your magic system?
Yeah, so the magic system is that there are two kinds of people. So there's the Lorrae, and those are people who are born with a magical ability. And everybody's magical ability looks a little bit different. There are some people who are born with like the same ones. There's some that are more common, and there are others that are rarer. And I kind of based it off of, so in the country that Revna lives in, there's 6 gods and a goddess. Maybe.
So understandable. Do not ask me about my books.
I know. I'm like, wow, I really should know that. But I want to say there's 7 of them. And so there's the goddess of the soul. And so I was like, okay, how do I like categorize these? So I did like the 4 elements, and then maybe there's just 6 of them. and then like body and soul, I think, were like the categories that people's magic could come from. So they all like kind of fall into one category or another, and her people believe that like those people are touched by the gods. So they're god touched is what that country calls them. But like the actual name for those people is Lorraine. And then people without magic in Revna's country are called god forsaken. And they're kind of seen as lesser than, like, oh, the gods didn't see fit to bless you with magic. But in the other countries in the Fjordlands, they just call them Nylore. I don't remember how it's pronounced. Okay. I'm like, it's been a really long time.
I know.
They were like, how do you want to pronounce all these things in the audiobook? And I was like, I don't know.
However you read them.
So, yeah.
I thought, like, I kind of had an idea about the magic system of, like, some of the powers kind of show a little bit about the person's character, right? Okay, because I mean, I really picked up on that when we get to, like, Volkan.
Okay,
like, his power was so perfect for him. Okay, so I want to talk about the characters, because this book gave me the vibe, not the vibe, this book was about complicated relationships.
Yes.
And we see Revna have a lot of different types of relationships, and every single one is complicated.
Yes.
Good. Happy for you, Revna.
You wrote that so well, by the way. Like,
oh, thank you.
That was my favorite part of the book, which is like crazy because there's just so much going on in this book, but like that was like what I picked up on the most. And I think that was written so well.
Because relationships are hard. Whether it's a good relationship, a bad relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, they are hard. And you have to work through hard things, or you need to like not be in that relationship anymore. So I want to talk about some of the characters. I want to kind of ask some questions about the type of relationship they have and get your thoughts. So I want to start with Freya, which is kind of BFF vibes.
Yes.
Okay, this is Revna's best friend, and when I read her character, and they were fighting when Freya's in prison, and like she's like, "I'm going for you," and she said, "Don't go for me," and she's like, "But I'm going for everybody," and she's like, Freya was kind of being mad at her, and they get this big fight. But then when Revna finally comes back, they're like, "I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have said that," and I love that because friendships are hard, especially as an adult. Like when we're kids, it's so easy to make friends, but as an adult, to find a friendship that you carry on throughout hard things. So I want to ask about why did you want to show a friendship that wasn't smooth sailing, and what was so important for you about their relationship that really was resonated with you as the writer?
I love their relationship because I think so many of my most impactful relationships as a child, as an adult, have been my female friendships. I think there's just like a closeness between best friends that, you know, sometimes other people just don't get, and it's a really interesting dynamic because, you know, like they both are these people who have these different wants. They both want the same things, but they have different ideas of how to go about it and different ways of believing in themselves. And I think too, like, you're right when you say that friendships are complicated. I think we've all felt that. It's a very universal feeling. And so I really wanted to make it clear that like they're best friends, but it's not just like happy-go-lucky. Like they're fighting a war. They're living in a country where they're treated poorly. But ultimately, like in this book, they're able to come back together despite all those differences and focus on what really matters, which is the fight that they're both in for their people's equality.
I'm not going to ask a specific question, but I will let you know I am terrified.
Okay,
what's
yeah,
gonna
you
happen
probably
with
should.
I'm not going to ask a question, but I will say I am terrified what's going to happen in book 2 with their relationship, because Revna's keeping a very big secret. And I know it's eating at Revna. We already see that. It's kind of at the end. She's just like, at this point, it's too late, to be honest. So I'm curious to see what you do there.
It's a big part of book 2.
So I won't ask anything yet, because I know you'll be like, I can't answer you. The next relationship was Arne. And my first question is going to be, I'll say this, It's hard to know your worth in a relationship, in a romantic relationship, because a lot of people think like, maybe this is the best I'll ever get, or like someone has feelings for me, I should feel feelings for them, and they kind of force that on themselves. But Revna was able to know her own worth and know that she was like I can't, this is not for me. And we see it, and first she was like, maybe I can just avoid this at first. And that is so human of her. It's so realistic. I love that you did that, because I've probably done that too. I'm just like, I'm just going to avoid this problem. Maybe it'll just go away. It did not go away. And then he kind of like blew up. And I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa, dude. But you had a choice there as a writer. You could have written it where he understood, or you could have written it how it happened, where he was like, what are you talking about? Kind of trying to like force you do love me, or like, what? You played me, like kind of him becoming a victim somehow. But first question is, why did you want him to have that reaction? And why was that important for Revna's character arc?
Arne is so interesting to me because he's very much like the first love kind of character for her, where she knew from the beginning that it could never work between them. And so she kind of went in thinking, like, this doesn't have to be anything more than like filling out my resume of romantic experiences so that I'm not marrying a stranger and he is every single one of my firsts. Like, she wanted to at least experience a little bit before she was married off to a stranger. And so I think they came from very different backgrounds, where Revna kind of always had that in mind and Arne didn't. And so, I don't know, I think that, how do I even make this work? Like, they're on the same side. They're both experiencing the same kind of, I don't know if prejudice is the right word, but like people treat them both poorly because they're
trauma bonded.
Yeah, they're a little bit trauma bonded, and it's almost like they've been close for years because they didn't really have any other options. And I think everyone's probably had a friendship or something more that felt kind of like that. Like, there's no other choice. Like we're here, we might as well. But even though they're experiencing all of the same things, even though people are treating both of them poorly in the same way, I wanted to make it clear that not everyone who was treated that way was going to do something about it. Because I think that's a very realistic part of life, is that no matter how badly someone is being treated, there are different personalities. Some people are going to say, okay, this is my time to like stand up for myself and fight back. And other people are going to feel like, well, this is just my lot in life, and kind of move forward. And I wanted it to also, I don't know, like, it's hard because you only have so many pages in a book, but I wanted his character to be kind of an exploration of the idea that like just because he's on the receiving end of this poor treatment doesn't mean that he is not also capable of treating others poorly. So yeah,
I get that. I totally get that.
I want to say to this, as a reader, reading that, it's kind of like so refreshing, because I feel like I've read so many books where it's like, hey, I love you, and then the female main character is like, no, and then the male main character is like, oh, okay, I understand. And it's like, well, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's good because, like, okay, yeah, in real life, we want that. We want the guy to be like, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
We want that, yeah, because that's never, like, I've always been in the situation where it's like, that's not what happens. And
It's
so, like, when I read
ideal,
that, it was, like, so, like, infuriating, like, oh, I want to punch him in the face. But it was, like, oh, it's kind of refreshing to read that, because it's like, that was realistic.
Follow-up question. Do we get to see a redemption arc for him at some point in book 2? Or are we just
gonna keep hating him?
Is he in book 2?
He is in book 2, yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a redemption arc, but
do we see growth? Or we'll just read it by now.
He gets a little bit of what's coming to him.
Okay. I want to talk about Halvar, because the whole book, I was like, I love this fatherly relationship with Halvar. Then at the end of the book, when Revna all of a sudden has powers, she's like, doesn't know what's going on with her own body. She's got her favorite brother just died. Her other brother just left. She just murdered all of her family. So she's kind of like going through it a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And
It's just Thursday.
and one of the few people that she thought, and I mean, at this point, she's like, the Hellbringer just betrayed me as well. And she had given a part of her like heart to him, or maybe her whole heart, but like, so she's like really feeling it, okay? And then Halvar was someone she thought she could count on. And then when she became different, he no longer was able to like stomach her. So my thought about this was, sometimes we love people, but we kind of love the idea of what someone could be, or what they stand for, or what we could make them into if we put effort into them. But we don't just love them, we love the idea. And I kind of got that from Halvar, of like, he did care for her, and he did train her and take care of her and teach her, and like, but in the end, it wasn't her that he was like, that he loved. So I want to know your thoughts on the Halvar's feelings at the end of the book.
Yeah.
Of why did you make his character do that? Kind of have shock of like, you're not who I thought you were, or something.
Yeah. He's really complex in my mind. He's kind of multifaceted because he fills this father figure parental role to Revna, but by the end, he's trying to balance the role of father figure and leader of a rebellion. And it's interesting, like for him personally, I don't think he can balance them. Like at some point he had to pick one or the other. And I think too, like he didn't have all the information. He wasn't really interested in listening to all the information, but it felt almost like a betrayal on his end, because he just saw this person that he really cared for who changed in a very drastic and inexplicable way. And he didn't see a lot of her growth as a person. A lot of her character arc happens when she's trapped in the prison with the Hellbringer. And so no one is really allowed to, around to see that except for him, the Hellbringer. And so when she comes back, she is a different person, kind of just by virtue of what she's been through and then what she continues to go through. And I think, personally in my own life, I've seen that sometimes, as you change, not everyone is willing to walk with you while you change. And so I think Halvar is one of the biggest examples of that. Arne is too, I think. So yeah.
I think if Revna maybe didn't blow him up with her power, that if they had more time, do you think he would have come around?
Yeah, I think so.
I hope that he would have, if he had more time, which he doesn't. So,
womp womp.
Okay.
So sad.
Okay, then I want to talk about Volkan. I loved his character, and I loved, because when I read this book, and I was kind of like a forced marriage situationship, usually we don't like the forced marriage guy. So, or he is the main male character, and it's like an enemies to lovers thing.
Yeah.
So I was I don't really want it to, I didn't really want that situation. So I was reading it and I was it could go this way, but then immediately, quickly, you didn't make us worry too long. You were just he just was great. Yes. From the beginning. He was I'm gonna be honest with you. We could be really great friends. But
you're not my type. But
you're not my type.
Great friends.
And then when we get the secret lover reveal of Hellbringer has a past with Volkan, I was Volkan. Okay, Volkan's got a dark type. Okay, he's into he's into the bad boys. But I want to know, will we get to see Volkan in book 2?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
I was about to say, if we don't,
I really love his character. I'm not gonna whatever you do to Volkan, but I just hope.
Guys, we're gonna have another talk.
But yeah, so I just want to say I love Volkan's character, and I just wanted to compliment. As a reader, I think you did the right thing of making the story so different in that sense, because it wasn't the typical. I was I think I can predict where this is gonna go. I was okay, I'm not gonna do that. So thank you, thank you, Volkan. And every time he was in the book, I was Volkan was kind of the character that always pushed things on, and I was thank you, Volkan. We all need a Volkan in our life, so I loved him.
He was he wasn't just encouraging, he was encouraging to everyone.
Yeah.
He was actually and I'm okay, no, go off, be that guy.
In contrast to Revna's family, who we'll talk about next.
Yes.
So the brothers, with her brothers, the main question I want to pick your brains on is nature versus nurture. Ooh. Because all of them have the same parents, the same very toxic environment. This idea of we will all have to kill each other eventually, and that can't necessarily be great for family bonding.
No.
But most of the family of the children, they were like pretty decent, especially Frode, Revna, and then Yak, Yak, I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, it's okay.
He like eventually was like coming around when he got the opportunity to like kind of do that. So I want to know, I think that Eric, Eric would have maybe been able to be a better person if maybe he was in a different environment, or what do you? Okay,
yeah.
In the end, it seemed like he didn't necessarily want to do it, but he would do it because it's the law that he grew up with.
Yeah, Eric is so interesting to me. He was kind of like he didn't have a ton of page time, but he was kind of my exploration of the ways that sometimes beliefs can warp people into a different version of themselves that they don't even realize it. Like he kept talking about like at the end, he's very much talking about like, no, like I'm worried, like where's Yak? Like he hasn't shown up yet. And she's like, I can't believe that you're saying you're worried about him when we're all about to go into an arena to literally kill each other. Like he's a little bit of a hypocrite, but he doesn't even know it. And that was very intentional, was that I wanted him to kind of show that like he wasn't a bad person. He didn't think he was a bad person, but he was doing bad things by virtue of that was what he had been told to believe and told to do. So
I think in contrast to Bjorn, who I think was just like...
Oh yeah, he's a sadist.
There was something in him that was different, okay?
Like really early on in the book, like just Bjorn, like his aura.
I know, every time he was like grimacing or just like there, I was like, he just felt different.
Yes.
Kind of remind me more of their father, of just like, something's not right in your head there.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I need to talk about Frode, because I need to show you what my book looks like on page 333. What's going on here?
She reads books before me and she'll put notes in them, so when I'm reading them, and I got to this page,
I was like, what?
I couldn't like skip ahead, so I was like, I got here and I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're like, no, don't look.
I was like, what? Not Frode? He was the best. I refuse. Insert more tears. What do you mean I understand? I like, oh my gosh. Can't. Okay, I know you can't tell me anything, but I just want to ask, what percentage of the book do I have to get through till I find out what that meant?
So I think you'll probably be able to guess in the prologue even. The prologue is from Soren's point of view. So I think that you will be able to guess when you read the prologue. But if you are reading it and you're like, this, Alex, what are you talking about? This still doesn't make any sense. I want to say it's like 40% of the way is when
it's like
the full okay, let's like talk this out kind of explanation. Okay,
well I'm gonna like pen and paper that prologue because I'm like, I cannot go too much longer. Luckily I'm only about like 2 months, 2.5, 3 months.
Yes.
Okay, but I loved his character, Frode, for so many reasons. Because he was like really kind to Revna, but also I feel like it was so realistic that you gave a mind reading character that's a hard power to have.
Yeah.
He like couldn't really shut it off ever completely. So he kind of was like going insane a little bit and always hearing what everybody's thoughts are. I would not want to do that. My mental health would just explode. And so I love that you actually did that. I feel like we have so many books where people can read thoughts and it's like sexy and shadow daddy vibes. It's like, that's so cool that I can read everybody's thoughts. But I'm like, I don't want to know what people are thinking. And so I think it was so realistic that you kind of showed him as an alcoholic, how he turned to that to kind of like help cope with the craziness of his power.
Yeah.
And he was a beautiful character to explore mental health and loving someone that has mental health struggles.
Yeah.
Would you say that was what you were writing, or like did I pick up
a little bit? Did you ever watch The Umbrella Academy?
Yes.
Okay, so
that was so long ago. You just like unlocked memories.
You're like, whoa, where is this going?
Flashbacks.
So I was watching The Umbrella Academy while I was writing this, and watching Klaus, who can see all the ghosts, and seeing how he was like not really vibing with life. I was like, that would probably happen to a mind reader too. And so that was a big influence on like the struggles that Frode was going through. But yeah, I mean, he is definitely like not perfect by any means, but he still manages to like be such a lovable character.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of fun to explore also, is like he's flawed, he has his own shit going on, but he's somebody that you want to root for regardless.
I could definitely see that. Like, now that you pointed that out, I could like see the parallels. That's cool. I know, that's definitely
Favorite character. Sad he died.
He's baby boy.
I have a quote in here that this is just my own fangirl, like, I just need to know the details, okay? This is, because we didn't get very much of the motherly relationship with the queen. Okay, and there's this quote that she says, this is in like the beginning of the book where they just saved the baby. Thank you for doing that, first of all. So they're with the priest, and then her mom's talking to Revna, and she's like, "You're many horrible things already, daughter mine. Queen won't be one of them." And I was like, this is foreshadowing for sure, that she's gonna be queen. But I was like, what would make her mom say that? Because in my mind, it was like two ways of like, she is a queen and she already feels that this is actually horrible, like what I have to do as a queen. Like, she feels that weight, and she maybe in a way was like, you're not going to be one because you suck, but also because I wouldn't wish this upon somebody. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts were of why she said that.
Yeah, the mother relationship is interesting because you don't get a ton of it, but like it does very clearly impact Revna a lot. Like, she thinks about that relationship a lot, but you never really get like a ton of specific details. I don't know. I very much see it as like her mother just was one of those parental figures where at the point of Revna's life where they didn't know what kind of magic she was going to have, but they did expect her to have magic. She was kind and loving, and then they found out she did not have magic, and it was kind of like, whatever, like not worth it to them anymore. But yeah, I don't think she dislikes being queen necessarily. I think she likes the power that gives her. And I think when I wrote that, I'm like trying to remember. I want to say that it was just like, it really was meant to show the impact of like this relationship between them is non-existent. Like the queen genuinely dislikes her own child. And I don't know, I remember actually like way back when ARCs were first going out for this, I was a brand new author, and I could not stop myself from reading reviews, which don't ever do that. If you're a future writer watching this, don't do that. They're not for you. But I remember reading one, and it said something about how like it was just so unrealistic that parents would hate their children that much. And it just made me laugh because like, I would hope it's unrealistic that a parent would hate their child, but unfortunately for some people that is reality. And so I don't know, just like they're really evil. That was definitely the point of like the first scene where they're trying to sacrifice the baby, is it was the save the cat moment.
They are villains. And I think it's beautiful to use parental figures as kind of villains in Revna's life, because the whole book, I just knew that they were not good people. But everybody wants their parents to be good. You don't want your parents to be evil. And so the whole book, I'm like, maybe they'll turn around, maybe in the end they'll like won't make them fight each other, like, but they did. And like they were just that. And sometimes that's how people are. We don't like that. But
I just want to say to those reviewers, congratulations for having good parents. First of all, like, I'm so happy for you. Second of all, like, no, like when I read that quote, because I think we read it a little bit, I read that as a very dismissive, like that was just a one-off quote. Like, they're not going to be queen. And they just went on about their day. That to me was a very like blatant dismiss of a mother. So like, that was a very like, to me, a good way to write a hateful parents. And like, of course, like, you're raising your children to kill one another. That's not parents to me. That's just like adults in your life at that point. So
I think too, like they kind of grew up with that. I mean, like, that was what they were raised for. And so from the beginning, like if you know that someone's going to die, do you see them as a human being, or is it easier to see them as a commodity to like getting what you want? So
that's really heavy. Okay.
And that is reality. What people out here, let's not be realistic. Okay, society's
people are
utopia.
entitled to their opinions.
That's crazy.
Okay, so then Revna, I really liked watching her grow. And I really loved watching her learn different lessons from all the different people that she met in this book. And to grow into who she was at the end of the book which I feel like is kind of the middle of her growth, but it was a lot of growth for her, like young adult life of wow.
She went through a lot.
She went through a lot. But I just loved her specifically, let's talk about her romantic relationship with Hellbringer Soren.
Yeah.
I loved that she was so aware of her craziness that she was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? But I loved the arc of her like falling in love with the monster.
Yeah.
And there were some beautiful quotes that you wrote about like kind of like idea of like, am I a monster because I love a monster, or like anyways, I loved that, showing that the complexity of her character and how all the other relationships she had brought her to be able to maybe need to fall in love with a type of monster, because that's what she needed. Even though I don't believe he's a monster, I have to believe that he does bad things for good reasons. I have to believe that. But I love their relationship, and I just put in here Hellbringer, Ben Solo, ? Because I wanted to confirm that that was like a little hint of that. But then I saw your social media and I was like, okay, I didn't read into that too much.
No, definitely not.
But I didn't even see your social media, or I think you might have mentioned something about it, because I don't, I do scroll, but I don't get on social media that much, so it's like, I don't really like connect dots like that.
Okay.
So when I was reading it, there was a scene, I don't remember what scene it was specifically, but I was like, wait a minute, I'm vibing against this.
Yeah.
I got like the Kylo Ren vibe, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to go and talk about book 2, okay? I want to just tell you my fear list and my hope list. I'm not going to ask you any specific questions because I know you can't, but then I want you to tell us what you can. Like the back of the book blurb, get us excited about what we've got to come, what secrets are going to be unfurled. Okay, my fear list is Feya and Revna fall out over what happened with Halvar, or that's gonna like be really bad, okay? The Hellbringer, I'm afraid that he doesn't actually have good reasons for his betrayal. I refuse to believe that one. And then Revna will be more isolated once more for being, again, different than everybody else in a totally different way. Now she's like got the power that everyone else has, but it's like terrifying. And then my hope list is that we get resolution for Frodo's death. And I want to see Volkan happy. And
my fear list is that he dies. That's my main fear.
I know, that's why I put on my hope list, is that he gets happiness.
Yeah, he's not allowed to be on the fear list.
And that I need the Hellbringer's betrayal to be for good reasons. So what can you tell us about book 2? Okay. When does it come out? And give us the blurb on the back of the book of like, give us the details.
Okay, a little SparkNotes version. So it comes out on February 17th, 2026. So not too much longer to wait, thankfully. Kind of the gist of it is it takes place about 3 weeks after the end of book 1. So this is the spoiler section. So I can say that Revna is now queen, and she has these powers that she did not want. And she's kind of trying to figure out how to deal with them, but they are a little bit out of control. The war is essentially over, and they are trying to do treaty negotiations, but then the queen says, actually, you're so volatile that I will not sign this treaty unless you train with my top scholar, essentially, for 3 weeks, and then prove to me that you have mastered your Lorraine. But the scholar is maybe the same person as someone who wears a mask sometimes. So she's not exactly thrilled about that. But yeah, so they have to kind of figure out how to work together. Revna is basically like, I'm going to make this as hard as possible for you.
Good for her.
Not really interested in this. Yes, but then as they keep interacting together, they start kind of figuring out like secrets about the past and the history of the world that are influencing them and their current time. And so they have to kind of figure out how their fates are tied together and what to do about that, if anything.
Cool.
Yeah. We're about to go to a Brimstone's opening or whatever. I'm more excited about this book.
I know.
Thank you.
But Brimstone comes out like in 2 weeks. This book's not till February.
I know. I'm so excited for book 2. One question.
Yes
or no, or maybe you can't answer. But do we get to ever meet this queen?
Yes.
Okay.
She is in book 2. She's a very big...
Okay.
I don't know, character,
I'm
I
excited.
guess. Yeah.
Okay, and I know we want to know what's next for you. And I saw on your social media you've got another book deal. What can you tell us about that? And then also tell us where people can find you to keep in touch, to follow along. And
Yeah, I would just add, like, is there any like pre-orders for the next book? Is there like things like that? Just this.
Yes, so pre-orders for the sequel, which is called Gods Beneath the Ice, those are available now. And then the book that I have coming out next fall was just announced. It's called Drown the Bones, and it's about a girl. She is the spare princess, so her brother is set to become king eventually, and she is very devout and in her faith, but then when her brother is murdered and the investigation by the church is called off, she decides that she is going to perform a heathen magic ritual to talk to his spirit and see if she can find out who killed him, but she does the ritual and she gets the wrong ghost. So the guy who shows up is the snarky rival prince from their country on the other side of the lake that they are about to go to war with, and she finds out that he was murdered the same night, and so they decide they're going to work together to try and solve the double murder.
Whoa, that sounds super exciting.
It's a lot of fun. I really like it.
What's your social media handles? How can people follow along and stay up to date?
I am Alex Kennington Writes on pretty much every social media that I actually use. So that's mostly Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm not really on YouTube much anymore, but yeah, those are the main ones. And I
we'll
have a newsletter.
have everything linked.
Okay, yeah.
So,
cool. Perfect. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming and sharing, and I am so excited for book 2.
Thank you for having me.
If it doesn't break me too much, then maybe I'll then be excited for the next book too. But yes, so
Volkan dies.
Hey, stop it.
I'm not gonna spoil
I'm gonna be
it.
with you now. I'm gonna be like,
I'm gonna blow up those DMs.
1 star, Volkan died. Just kidding.
I'll 5-star it, but there would be a lot of crying emojis.
5-star because I cried so much. But next week we're gonna be talking about Mistborn, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys next time.
Somebody's gonna be crying.
Maybe.